taking this long, was it? What's up, everyone? It's Roger here from DisKingdom podcast, and in today's episode, I'm going to be joined by Ethan from Magic Band Collectors and SortOutApps.com, who is joining us to be talking all about Walt Disney World, all the recent news and stuff. So, welcome, Ethan. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great. How about you?
Yeah, good. Yeah, you're sitting there in sunny Orlando.
Yeah, 85 degrees and sunny right now.
Yeah. Yes, well, we're up to nearly 10, 12 degrees here now, so we're pretty nice and warm. I took my jumper off today. That's how hot it got.
That's too cold for me.
Yeah. So, like I said, Ethan runs SortOutApps.com and also Magic Band Collectors, and he is our sort of sponsor and stuff. But because he is at Walt Disney World, it's always great to kind of hear from him and kind of give his opinion on some of the recent news and stuff. So we've actually got quite a list of stuff that we're going to kind of go through some of the recent news and bits and pieces and kind of get Ethan's reactions to it, because obviously he is local to Walt Disney World, so it kind of gives a unique view as well. So I think first off, Ethan, I was going to sort of bring up really the first thing really that kind of ties directly into you is the changes to the FastPass Plus, and kind of obviously with you and your Magic Bands, it kind of links in a little bit off the first of the back. So what were the changes and what does it kind of mean?
Okay, so FastPass Plus, originally the way it was to book FastPass Plus, since they've rolled out this My Magic system with Magic Bands and everything, is that you would make your selection of the 3 rides that you wanted to go on in a single park, and Disney on the app or on the My Disney Experience website forced you to choose 3 rides, and even if you just wanted to go on 1 ride, you had to choose 3, and so you would maybe pick, you wanted to do Star Tours, and then you didn't really care about the other 2, so you would just pick a couple other ones, and then the other ones, it would just give you these random times. And now with this new update, you're able to just pick that one specific ride that you want to go on, pick the time. There's a lot more options and modifications, so you can, if you want to modify a fast pass for a single person, you can go in there, choose the person, choose the ride, modify the time, and you don't have to mess with all 3 rides and kind of juggling them all around within the system.
Yeah.
The other major change, so it makes it easier just to book from fast passes. The other major change they've made is that after you've used your 3 fast passes, you can make your 4th fast pass plus booking right from the app. So the way it was before, if you made your 3 fast pass plus and you use them all up for the day, if you wanted an additional fast pass, you had to find the kiosk within the park, go up to the cast member, and they tap your thing, and then you got to deal with the cast member. Now you can just pull out your phone. So the moment that you tap your Magic Band or your ticket to that turnstile, and it does a little bling, you can pull out your phone and immediately book your 4th pass right on the spot. And so that's going to open up a lot of options for people to don't feel like they have to scramble around to find a kiosk. So I think it's just the major improvements are just ease of use improvements to where now you have more flexibility and you're able to book those additional passes, and you can even book that 4th pass in a different park. So that's
can you do like I was going to ask, can you add like a 5th pass after you've done your 4th and the 6th after your 5th, or is so you just keep booking them until you leave?
Yeah, it's like keep booking them until you leave. It's just like a rolling final pass there that you can just, once you use the next one, you can get a next one and a next one. So I mean, to take advantage of that, you would have to use your first 3 up really early in the morning if you wanted to have 4, 5, 6, 7. And then by then, a lot of the rides are gone. But still, the flexibility is now more open. And it's easier to take a party member off. If they don't want to do that ride, you can just remove that one person and assign that one person to a different ride. So there's just a lot of changes with fast passes that are highly requested that allow for flexibility. So I think
I was just thinking, like, in terms of like making people book the free fast passes, well, that would have probably left to a lot of like maybe local people booking them but not actually using them and just basically clogging them up and getting rid of them.
Oh yeah, I did it all the time. Where I would want to go on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, and that's it. I just wanted to go on that ride, but then I had to book, Dumbo and Aladdin or whatever. It's like I'm taking that little kid's spot that might want to go on those rides. So Disney figured that out, and they figured, especially with locals, if they only want to go on that one. And
yeah, I mean that's the thing. I think there's this kind of thing. I think with the FastPass system of it works great if you understand it. The big problem as well of having your phone and stuff. I'm going to be honest. When I'm in the parks, I actually like to leave my phone in the safe because I want to kind of forget about the world. I don't want to be bugged with Facebook and Twitter and stuff while I'm sort of standing in line. And trying to find those kiosks was never the easiest thing because they did really, really hide them and didn't really put. It was like, it's all very fine having all the apps and stuff, but having those local turnstiles, because not everyone wants to have them with them when you're on a day. If you're local, it's not really the same. But I think, especially if you've gone on vacation, you do want to kind of try and break away. But for locals, it definitely seems like these upgrades are really helpful for locals.
Yeah, they're helpful for locals, and they're helpful for large groups of people where some want to do one ride and others want to do another ride. And just flexibility. Sometimes plans change. If somebody gets sick or something and they can't make it that morning because they missed a reservation or something, I think those are the kinds of scenarios where people just wanted the additional flexibility. And Disney's walking this fine line of not going back to paper fast passes, but also, like you said, a lot of people don't want to bring their phones and stuff. So how do you balance that and find a good kind of middle ground? And so they have the kiosks and things. So this is just opening it up, I think.
Yeah. And also, I think, it's like if I was there, it's because I found as well, sometimes using the FastPass for the bigger rides that have the big queues helps if you only, like, one or two of you out of the party wants to go, kind of speeds the whole day up. We're going to go on that one there for half an hour because we've got FastPasses. But we'll be back in a bit, and you can do something else, kind of thing. But definitely speeds that whole process up. Has there been any more rumors recently about like Disney using the phones instead of magic bands? Or is that kind of still very much been sort of they want to sell those magic bands?
Well, like we talked about last time, I think the other parks, they're not going to do magic bands. I think magic bands are exclusive for Disney World for now. They've put such a big amount of money and infrastructure into this. I don't think magic bands are going away anytime soon. I think Disney's always looking to see, where is technology headed? How can we transition? But I still think the transition is years away. There's a lot of people with older phones that don't have NFC and all those things that are needed to do the touch point. So I think there's still a good decade away from transferring.
No, that's cool.
But I don't think they're going to do it to other parks.
No, that's cool. Right. So also another thing you mentioned recently was the Disney are testing some kind of premium parking. I know they're doing this. I think is it just at Magic Kingdom at the minute?
They rolled it out actually to Epcot and Animal Kingdom now. And so with originally parking is $20 a day, which is already crazy expensive in my opinion. And if you want to park, in the next parking section up, you can pay $15 more for $35. And from the outsider's perspective, number one, I'm a local, so I have an annual pass, so I get free parking. So there's no way I'm even going to pay for parking. But when you go in there and you see this preferred parking section when you're walking up to the park, it's empty. Like there's like one row of cars that are maybe doing this at $35 a pop, and so I'm not sure how well. Sorry about that. I'm not sure how well this is really working for Disney. I think it is just a test and see if they, Disney's really pushing the limits right now. They're raising the prices of tickets. They're raising the prices of everything. They're having these morning magic and after hours things, and so they're trying to see how much are people willing to pay. And
because I was going to say, because this kind of seems to be the big thing really that seems to be going on in terms of the process of all these events, and some people sort of saying like the nickel and diming effect of Walt Disney World, where they are just trying to charge for every little thing they possibly can. And it's not as if Disney's cheap already, so it's not like where you're only paying a little bit to get in. You're paying over $100 a day to be in there. So then, it's like this early magic hours that they've brought in. It was about $65 for access to about 3 rides in Fantasyland, and you get breakfast at the Pocahontas place. For per person for about 3 hours of entertainment. Now, at first I was, I'm still a bit kind of confused over how good this is. I mean, obviously, for $65, if you deduct the breakfast, and I don't know how much the breakfast is at the Pocahontas house. I don't know if you've eaten. I can't remember ever going in
Well,
there.
they don't usually have a continental breakfast there for that. But a breakfast, like a character breakfast, maybe at like Grand Floridian, where they have the characters come in and it's a buffet breakfast type of thing, continental breakfast. Usually that runs about $35 to $45 a person. So,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's literally the only thing I can kind of think of is like, well, maybe if you were to go, right, okay, we're having some kind of special breakfast. If you deduct the price of the breakfast and stuff, so suddenly then you're paying $15-20, maybe, or actually probably maybe about $30 to get on those rides early. Now, it's kind of, I'm wondering who's this really aimed at, because I know, like, from a foreign tourists going there, if you're there for a week or two, you've kind of got time. You don't need to really be. You've got a 14-day pass. Going in and paying extra to go in there doesn't really make a lot of sense. If you're a local, you've got to pay for your extra ticket as well. It's like, who do you think it's aimed at?
So, I think that what Disney's trying to do. So, if you're staying at a Disney resort, you have the early magic hours already as part of your resort. So you already get in free on many days in the morning for these extra magic hours. So it's not aimed at Disney Resort. It's not aimed at locals, because locals usually have annual passes and they just go whenever they want. They're not going to pay $65 for 3 hours of a breakfast. The other thing to think about too is the breakfast is like, you're going to spend an hour and a half of this 3 hours just eating. You're not even going to have, how many rides are you going to get to go on? Maybe just two or two, maybe. And so
straight after breakfast.
yeah. And then you can throw it all up. I mean, in my opinion, they're going after the non-Disney resort guests who stay on the Hotel Boulevard that's right there by Disney Springs with Hilton and those hotels. But that's a little confusing to me, because the reason that a lot of those people stay at those hotels is so they can get a cheaper stay than the Disney resorts. So are they really going to be willing to spend that money? I don't know. I'm a little confused. I think it's another test. Disney trying to see how much money can we get out of this. Is it going to work? Yes or no? And then go from there.
It's almost like it feels like, the magic hours that they've been giving to the guest resorts have been working and been really successful. But let's see if we can charge them for that. Because this then lies into the other thing, then trying to do the same thing with the nights. Extra hours as well, doesn't it? And again, who's that aimed at?
Yeah, again, I think it's the same thing. Like, it could be a test to see how many resort guests. I mean, are they going to transition away from early magic hours and evening magic hours? And they might be thinking about making those paid if enough people, of course, pay for it in this test. So we'll see.
But it's always kind of viewed me as that was kind of one of the big benefits of staying on site. And if you take that away, then you're just going, well, if that hotel's that price and that hotel's that price, like staying at the All-Star Resort, it's like, if the only convenience essentially is then at the bus. So suddenly then that price is got to be really good, and those extra hours do make a difference, especially for kids and stuff.
Well, the thing about their Disney resorts is, right now, with the economy doing really well in the United States, and there's a lot of people who have a lot of extra money to spend. The hotels are at 90% capacity right now. So Disney's kind of saying, well, we're at max capacity. Why don't we just start charging people for this? They're still going to come anyway. And then the whole reason to stay at the resorts is more just to say that you're at a Disney resort, more than anything else, So
I mean, I felt like with the evening things, it kind of made a little bit more sense, because you could get in from like 7 o'clock at night and you could stay till, I think it was at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. So you're kind of getting a little bit longer for your ticket. I mean, I think back to when I did like Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, where we had a 4-day pass. So we were already in the Magic Kingdom. We were literally at 4 o'clock, we decided to basically go out, get our ticket, get our rap band on for our magic for the party, and go back in, and obviously we stayed for the show. Now that was kind of thing. We actually paid B in that park for about 3 hours. We were paying double admission, so we should have gone a bit, But at least there was that kind of thing. If we weren't going there for that, if gone again, you'd be like, right, we're just going in there for that day, for that evening. You had the special fireworks, you had special parades. It kind of felt like you were at a special event, and it kind of felt like, we were paying for the parade, the fireworks, and for that whole experience. And it's like, well, if you take all that away, especially like, again, for us as if you've got a 14 or a 7-day pass, it's like, well, I'm not going to pay again to go in there. It's and again, locals, it might be, it's cheaper to go in just for an evening than go in all day. I don't know. It's a bit of an odd one.
It is an odd one. I agree. I think we'll just have to see how it plays out. And you're right. I mean, the biggest thing for me is there's no special entertainment. There's no special parade. There's no special fireworks. There's nothing. So that's the biggest thing for me. If it had something special, even merchandise, that you could sell.
Oh, you do get an ice cream and a bottled beverage. So from the cart.
There you go. It's $100.
Yeah, there you go. It's a bottle of water and a cookie. It definitely just feels like they're testing it. But there's been a lot of I think there's been a certain thing within the Disney community at the minute where everyone is kind of going, "Ooh, they're really sort of testing the boundaries on how far they can push people with costs and stuff," which. Like you say, if they're full, it's a little bit easier, and the parks are so busy all the time, or right in what was owed times. Is it a way of trying to spread everybody out a little bit, trying to kind of lower it down so people get around a bit better?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just pure supply and demand. I mean, Disney is more popular than it ever has been, especially with Star Wars and Marvel and Pixar and the Muppets, and everything is included now. And the Star Wars movies are making gangbusters money, and I think it's just they're at the absolute height of their popularity that they've ever been, and supply and demand. It's time to raise the prices and see where that max limit is for them. And unfortunately for us, it hurts our pocketbook, but it's business.
Yeah. I must admit. I mean, if I was going there, this year on a 2-year vacation, I wouldn't be even a 2-week vacation. I wouldn't be looking at these events because there wouldn't be any value to it for me. But if it was a Halloween party or a Christmas party, I would do it. And I think that's the difference of kind of having that different thing. But I'd love to know your thoughts on this, guys. Remember, you can always comment with your thoughts as well. Before we jump on to the next kind of thing, so we're kind of going to look at a few of the different lands. We're going to look at Magic Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, Animal Kingdom, and Epcot, and a little bit on Disney Springs as well. So let's have a look here at some of the recent news for the Magic Kingdom. So we've got the Royal Fairy Tale construction of the Magic Kingdom taking over from Dream Along with Mickey has begun. So I'm going to fill us a little bit on that.
So there's been a show at the Magic Kingdom. It's just a stage show right out in front. It's called Dream Along with Mickey, and I think it ran for 15 years or something. I can't quite remember the amount of time. And it's just kind of run its course, and everybody's seen it now if you've been to Magic Kingdom in the last 15 years. And so it's time for them to move on. And so they just recently had their last show, and now they're having Mickey's Royal Friendship Fair. It's got new characters in there from Tangled and a number of other characters. I think Princess Tiana. And so they're just doing the construction on the stage right now. I saw some pictures yesterday of it. And so
is the show running at all, or is it? Oh, there's nothing going on at the minute.
I think right now there's nothing going on at the minute. It's just under construction. So.
I'm surprised it went for 15 years. I mean, in all honesty, I would view that, it's about time. Because it's like, again, if I was going back a few years later, you want new parades, you want new shows, because there's a certain point of a parade and a show can only go on so long before people start going, oh, I want, you've got to move it around or update it a little bit. 15 years does sound quite a long time. I mean, it's a good show to see the first time, but I think the second time we were like, no, we think we've seen this before. And,
I think that every 10 years they need to cycle that out.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems a little bit long. But no, it's kind of cool to upgrade, to upgrade the parades and the shows and stuff. So that was pretty cool. Big Thunder Mountain is being refurbed with new elements delayed until late summer. So is it not open at all at the minute?
No, so it is open. There was going to be a refurb, I think, around this time, or at least soon compared to where we are now, and it got delayed. The elements that they were going to add were the ones that they recently added to Disneyland. I guess there's a new ending and some other kind of cool elements in there. And so for some reason, I don't know, a lot of people are blaming Shanghai Disney for over budget. And so it's been delayed, but they're still going to do it just later on this summer or fall. So
I was going to bring up that kind of thing with like the Shanghai issue of kind of basically being in every kind of penny pinching or deduction or thing. Shanghai seems to get the blame for it. Now, obviously, the parks and resorts as a whole are probably at a loss because Shanghai is costing a fortune, but it's not bringing any money in. How do you feel as sort of a local when you hear these kind of things being thrown around?
Well, okay, so there's two sides of the coin for me. Okay, so first, I'm a businessman. I own my own company, so I understand from a business perspective one thing affecting the other. So from that, I can take a step back and say, yeah, I get it. But from a fan's perspective, yeah, of course it sucks. I mean, it seems like Disney has consistently, with a number of projects lately, gone over budget and over time. So whether that's Avatar or the My Magic Plus, now it's Shanghai, and even some things of Disney Springs have been delayed or changed. And I feel like Tom Staggs recently kind of left the company or got let go or whatever. And I feel like it's a little bit of fallout from just a mismanagement of the parks and resorts budget and how it kind of affects everything. And unfortunately, it affects people's jobs, people's real jobs. I mean, I know a cast member here is telling me he has friends who have been laid off, and they're blaming the Shanghai over budget for it. So it's unfortunate, and I think it hurts everybody. But I think in the end, there's so many cool things to look forward to. Once Shanghai opens, I think it's going to be great. I think there's something like 30 million people within 30 minutes of the Shanghai resort. I mean, this thing is going to just be sold out every day without many people. So I think it's going to come back around. The money's going to start flowing in. Projects are going to start getting better. I think it's just a big project. So.
Yeah, again, as a business owner, I can sort of, and especially, I've had this experience as well, where one site is maybe affecting the costs of another site because one site is lower and it's bringing down your things. And there's, on the top of it, on the paper hands, things get changed, and you cut staff, you cut entertainment stuff. It makes good. And I'm in that kind of same thing as well. I'm looking at it kind of from that business point of view, maybe as well, going, well, it makes sense. Disneyland Paris has been suffering for a while because of finance and not being able to spend it, and got brought out by the Disney and stuff. But I think once Shanghai's money starts coming in, it's just a cash flow thing of they're spending more than they're bringing in. And I think it'll also be interesting to see what happens with the Shanghai attractions kind of filtering down through the other parks. I also, and I don't know if it's this kind of thing of, for me, I was, sit here and, I've got, we got two parks in America, park in France, one in Hong Kong, one in Shanghai, one in Tokyo. So to me, the parks are very global. There's globals that, I've been to different ones. And I don't know if America, I don't know if from your point of view, American tourists or Americans as general they tend to think it's just those two. Because especially in the Disney community, it's just those two parks and the other four don't really exist.
Well, from a local, from a actually U.S. citizen, I guess you could say. Yeah, I mean, in some ways, I just think there's Disneyland and Disney World because what else do the other parks offer that I can't already get here? Maybe there's a handful of rides, there's the Haunted Manor ride or whatever in Hong Kong, or the Tron ride in Shanghai, Ratatouille in Paris. I would love to go on those rides, but is it worth it for me to plan my whole trip just to go on the Ratatouille ride and maybe see a few things? I don't know, especially when I have two options right here in the U.S., which is much cheaper travel. So that's why I think you see a lot of the U.S. people just kind of ignore the outside. It's just because they can get most of what they want right here.
Yeah. It's quite funny because we have commercials on TV that promote it's Disneyland Paris and Walt Disney World in the same advert.
Oh,
and also the California advert with all the celebrities and stuff. Sometimes you'll see the cast will come up. They don't tend to advertise the California one really. So you have one advert advertising Paris and Walt Disney World at the same time. With all the Paris. Ooh, yep.
Getting kind of
a bit jiggly. Yeah, carry on.
Okay. So here in Florida, all the commercials are Walt Disney World because I mean it's huge. If you're over on the West Coast, you get ads for California for Disneyland and for Alani. You get a lot of Alani ones, and then when you're in Alani, you'll see a lot of Japanese. About 50% of the people around they're Japanese people from Tokyo Disneyland coming to visit Alani. So it's interesting. It depends on what part of the world you're in.
it's definitely kind of interesting. But I thought I'd bring that one up. Okay, so also we've got the new 45th anniversary logo and merchandise has slowly been sort of revealed. Now I saw this as well. Some nice looking logos have kind of gone a little bit retro on them. It's I think it's always this thing, isn't it? There's always some kind of anniversary at Disney.
yeah. And you know what, the 45th, I think it's going to be huge just because the economy is doing well. And like I said, they're basically selling everything out, so everybody's going to come. But the one that's really going to be huge is the 50th. In 6 years. That's the one that I'm almost like worried about because it's just going to be, you might not even be able to walk in the park without running into people. So we'll see.
Yeah,
but it's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I think Disneyland Paris has got its 25th next year. This is the kind of thing of going, like 45th anniversary is like, is it really, really? It's like, it kind of just feels a bit like, let's chuck some merchandise out. It doesn't really kind of mean anything.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to move on to kind of a pretty big subject at the minute. Really, is the Hollywood Studios, which pretty much has been pretty much demolished at the minute. So do you want to just give us an update on what's going on over there? What it's like at this precise minute? I think that's probably the easiest way of doing that one.
Yeah, so sure. So basically, Hollywood Studios has been cut in half. Okay, so I was over there the second to last day before they shut pretty much half the park down. So right now, the parts that have been shut down: Streets of America, Lights, Motors, Action, Premier Theater, the Watto's Grotto, which was way in the back with the backlot tour. There's a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids play area. There's a quick service restaurant that's gone. There's the bathrooms and the Coca-Cola stand, and basically the back half of the park from Muppets back and from Pixar Place back is just all closed off. So it's kind of like California Adventure was when they were building Cars Land. And where they just had walls everywhere, and it's basically the same thing now. There's just walls everywhere, and it's really turned into what I would consider a half-day park. I kind of feel bad for the people who are paying full price to go in there for a day, but there's still stuff to do. I mean, there's Star Tours, there's Rock and Roller Coaster, there's Tower Terror, there's some restaurants that are neat. But they started building Toy Story Land on the right side, back where the backlot tour is, past Pixar Place. And they're going to build. This is the thing about Star Wars Land that has a lot of people actually confused. Is they're talking about building Star Wars Land now on the left side, back by Streets of America and Lights, Motor, Action. The original plan that a lot of people thought was that they were going to get rid of the Indiana Jones stunt show, fill in the Echo Lake right there, and kind of connect it all to Star Tours.
Yeah.
But now they've announced that there's going to be a Muppets Courtyard where the Muppets Vision 3D is, and they're turning the Pizza Planet, which was a Toy Story thing, into a Muppets restaurant, which makes sense because they want to move that Pizza Planet or whatever over to the Toy Story Land. So now that people are wondering, how are they going to connect Star Tours into this new land with Muppets being in the way?
Yeah.
And if you look on the boards on the walls that are gone up, there's concept art on the Pixar side of the Toy Story Land, and there's concept on kind of on the Star Wars side of the Star Wars Land. And on the Toy Story one, you can actually see on the edge a connection of a tunnel that goes from Toy Story Land into Star Wars Land. And so people are thinking, okay, Star Wars Land is going to go where Lights, Motor, Action is, way in the back. And so there's just a lot of confusion right now, I think, in the community. How is this all going to connect? Where does Muppets fit into this? And, we'll just have to wait and see because there's not a whole lot of information from Disney about how this is going to look, obviously. But it's interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say, because it's that kind of thing. They've closed a big area off, but I mean, like the most of the action show, it's about an hour long, or about 45 minutes or whatever it is. But it's a good show, but it did need a kind of an update, and it took up a lot of space. And the backlot tour was kind of a waste. They dated so badly because they've just not, and they're fake. They're not an actual backlot tour like they are over in Universal in Hollywood. It's the same thing with the one in Paris. It was pretty bad as well. It's kind of like, well, they've taken away two attractions, but the backlot tour was pretty poor in my opinion, and not really worth the amount of space. So they've got rid of a lot of space, with just two attractions. I think it's when they're talking about, you know, this meet and greet's gone and this restaurant's gone and this is gone. The actual big attractions is not really, they've not really lost them. It's just, it sounds a lot. I mean, I know they've been bringing in like Mickey and Olaf as meet and greets to kind of sort of counteract some of the ones they've closed.
Yeah. So they've brought in like the Star Wars launch bay. They've brought in a new Star Wars show. They're going to have some new fireworks. They're bringing in little pieces to try to hold the public over from these rides. But the biggest problem with something like the Lights Motor Action Show, which took hundreds and hundreds or even thousands of guests at a time for an hour. Now all those guests are going to be stuck in the queues of other rides. And so the queues are going to get long. And they're working on the Toy Story Midway Mania third track, which I have on my list there of things that they're doing. And so it's just, when you take away those rides, you take away the queues, you know, take away the people, and you got to do something with these people. And so that's kind of what's happening right now. And one other thing to note here about the Toy Story Land, looking at the concept art on the wall, there have been some changes compared to what the concept art was at the D23 Expo last year. The changes are the Slinky Dog coaster is there. It was going to go underneath the ground, or have, you know, like a bridge and have it go underneath and then have it launch up. And they've totally taken that part out, and they've now have two kind of flat launches where instead of lifting up and dropping, they actually launch from a flat surface like Rock and Roller Coaster does at the start. So that's a change there, and there's some buildings that have gotten taken out. Again, everybody's blaming Shanghai because of the budgeting. So
it's kind of interesting because, and actually, to be honest, I kind of look at it in some of the different ways of, while they got a lot of work to do in those areas, in some way it would make sense to leave some sort of blank space, some empty zones, and, you know, just kind of fade them up so they can add some stuff maybe later down the line. I think like with Star Wars Land, you know, instead of building the 3 attractions at once, they're just building the 2, and then they're going to hold off on that further. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad move.
Well, there's actually a rumor, and it may have gotten canceled now. But the rumor was that there was going to be a phase 3. So Toy Story was phase 1, Star Wars was phase 2, and then the phase 3 was who knows. And a lot of people thought that Toy Story was phase 1, where it is. Star Wars was going to be phase 2 down where the Indiana Jones was, and phase 3 was going to be in the back. But now with these new concept art, people are saying, did phase 3 get canceled? And that would have been a bigger, you know, kind of a bigger area. So
yeah, I mean, I think in terms of like what's going on there, I mean, they need to be constantly expanding and constantly updating them. But in some ways, you know, once this is done, you know, they need to shift over to the Epcot and get that fixed as well. It's kind of, you know, they can only fix, I mean, as much as everyone would love another new park, they've kind of got to fix and update and keep everything rolling. There's always, I think, this thing with the parks. Some people like everything to stay the same and just keep adding new stuff to the outside and not touch anything. And other ones like, you know, we'll take that down, remove it, change it. It's always that fine line between taking away someone's memory and then replacing it with someone new.
And Hollywood Studios, one of the biggest problems I've actually had with Hollywood Studios is its aging, like you said. It was just not designed in a way that aged well, because movies at the time come out and they're the biggest thing, you know, Alien or whatever. But as time goes on, the new generation, they don't know Honey, I Shrunk the Kids or anything like that, right? These little kids. So you've got to make it like Star Wars Land or Toy Story Land, these everlasting intellectual properties that you're going to continue to make movies with, continue to do things with. I think it's a good idea for them to move away from just Hollywood in general and actually have lands that are timeless.
Yeah, I mean, I genuinely think like with Hollywood Studios, in all honesty, it kind of dropped the Hollywood and just turn it into like a new thing with, you know, that's Hollywood. You know, it's just a Disney park with different zones, and you know, you know, it might be set to move. I mean, I kind of in some ways always thought Toy Story Land would have made more sense as like Pixar Land or something, a little to allow a little bit more freedom. It's definitely kind of interesting. I think with what's going over there. And I think that'll bring us on to, I think we'll do, I was just going to say, Epcot. What's going on over in Epcot at the minute? Because obviously Frozen's on its way.
Yeah, Epcot, a quick one on Epcot. I mean, they've got the Inside Out character meet and greet at Epcot in the character spot. They've got the new Frozen ride and area coming this summer. It's basically, from what I understand, they're going to take Maelstrom and just do basically an update to it. So it's the same ride. You're on the boat, you're going through the water, but they're just adding different theming and things like that. And then the area there in Norway is generally just a fancy meet and greet for Anna and Elsa. I haven't heard of anything more. I don't know of any quick service restaurant or anything coming in there. So I don't think that's going to be anything too special beyond for little girls. And then Soarin', they're changing the Soarin' over the world, and they're adding a third theater. Everybody kind of knows about this already. They've got signs up that says it's all closed. So they've got signs up that says coming this summer. And of course, I see a lot of guests walk over and that was my favorite ride. I'm here and it's closed for like 6 months. It's like, well, you need to plan ahead. So Soarin' over the world's coming. That should be neat. In fact, there was some merchandise that was recently shown that kind of got leaked that shows all the different countries that you're going to be flying over and all the different areas. Yeah. And I don't have that list with me. But if you search online, I think you can find it.
But I think isn't it going like to China and stuff? Because I think the same videos. I think there's been rumors of it pretty much being this video is going to be used in all the different parks and stuff because it's such a great attraction kind of thing.
From what I understand, and I might be wrong, is that they're going to have the same video, but at the end, when you're flying over the park, you fly over the park that you're in.
Yeah.
So Walt Disney World here in California and so on. So that would be kind of cool.
Always, because the funny thing is, the first time I ever did Soarin', I was actually at Tokyo Disney Sea, so it was a bit funny. But also, I always found it funny that you did the flyover, but it was always Disneyland at Christmas. It was just never really made it. It was like, okay. But no, I agree. I think Soarin', is always one of my favorites. So it'd be nice to get that one done. I'm going to be honest. I never understand the objection to the Maelstrom overlay. Maelstrom. This whole thing about what Epcot seems to get this special kind of place in people's hearts of what it represents, and it was the last thing that Walt Disney was working on, and it shouldn't be touched and needs to be. It's kind of an odd one. It's kind of got this like Hollywood Studios. They could completely change half the park, and or people might moan about what's going on. It doesn't seem to have that same connection that Epcot does.
Yeah, and I think you're either on one side or you're on the other. I haven't lived here in Florida for very long, just a few years, not 3 years. So I don't have that nostalgic connection that a lot of the locals who grew up here have, who hate that Maelstrom's going away and they hate the changes, they hate this and they hate that. For me, again, it's a business perspective. Disney's got to keep up with the changing times. You have to have intellectual property tied now. Anna and Elsa and Frozen with Norway just makes sense. And I know it's sad to lose these kind of more unique attractions, but if you want to compete, with Universal's adding Minions and Harry Potter and this and that, you've got to compete. And Maelstrom just isn't going to do it.
Well, I think that's the thing. Is like you look thinking like the classic Disney attractions, and a lot of them that aren't connected to any IP was because essentially at the time they didn't have all those IPs. They were having to create them. So I think like with Epcot, I mean, I loved Epcot. I loved but I always liked the World Showcase. I just feel like it needs some newer attractions. The China, the 3D movie and the Canada free movie, they were good, but technology's moved on. It doesn't really amaze. It'd make more sense to have Mulan in China, or you could have some kind of more meet and greets. I mean, I know some people go, no, they shouldn't have any characters in there, because when I went back when I was a kid, there was nothing Disney in Epcot at all. Figment was it. There was nothing Disney related, and parents, we all loved Epcot, but there wasn't that Disney thing. And now, whereas Epcot's becoming, and I also think like the future world, the whole thing, most of it needs completely renovating and updating because it's just not representing the future. Test Track is good, but Ellen's Snorefest, that's there for a rest.
Yeah,
you put your feet up and sit down and have a nap. And
that's that ride's terrible. I'm sorry, that ride. Yeah.
It's just it's just so old. It's such a mess space.
Yeah, Epcot. I totally agree. I think you've got so much going on right now with Star Wars and Toy Story and Avatar. and Disney Springs and everything. But I can promise you that once those are complete, you're going to start to hear something about Epcot, because it really, especially Future World, it needs it badly.
Yeah, I kind of want some Tony Stark stuff going in there, but I don't think that's going to be happening anytime soon.
I know.
Yeah, I would be more than happy to just go, right. Okay, 58 Marvel Land, there with Marvel Park.
Yeah.
That would be me. I would be more than happy with that. But also, like, then over in the Animal Kingdom, bits and pieces as well going on over there as well. What's all the construction like going on over there at the minute?
So at Rivers of Light, which is their new water show, which looks absolutely amazing. If you haven't seen some of the videos online, you should watch them. I mean, this show, this is basically what, in my opinion, what it looks like is World of Color upgraded to the next level. If you've seen World of Color in California Adventure, which blew me away when I first saw it, 7 years ago or whatever now. It's lanterns and lights, and the tree comes alive, and the projections, and it looks really cool. And so all the walls are down now in Animal Kingdom for that. But the show has been delayed by a couple of months. My opinion is it's probably something technical. They're just having trouble getting synchronization or some kind of element working properly. And maybe they just need more time to rehearse the show. But the walls are down. It looks beautiful. Go ahead.
It must be pretty major to kind of have a month plus delay. This had to be last minute kind of major. Well, it's got to be pretty major, or some kind of safety issue of some kind.
Yeah, I agree. I think there was something major that happened. It wasn't planned, obviously. I mean, Disney had already put out the date of April to start this thing, and to walk that back is a pretty big deal for Disney. In the same area, they're going to open a new restaurant, signature restaurant called Tiffin's. It's going to have 3 different sections of the restaurant having to do with conservation of Animal Kingdom, and a number of other areas related to kind of lands. And it's not one of these fake restaurants that's trying to be real, like Skipper Cantina, where it was Jungle Cruise and it was kind of hokey. This is like a restaurant that's actually trying to be authentic to the African foods and things like that. So you can try that. And there's a lot of talk about dinner packages where you can reserve your dinner reservation at Tiffin's, and it gets you fast passes for Rivers of Light. So that may be coming soon. Also, with the whole theme of what's coming to Animal Kingdom Beyond Rivers of Light, which is a nighttime show, by the way. There's also the tree lights up at night. You'll have later closings at Animal Kingdom. You'll have some nighttime animals come out on a night safari. The night safari is going to be really cool because you'll be able to go out, see different animals on the safari ride, and in the background, way in the back, Disney has built this massive LED screen that you can't see as the guest, but it's backstage, and at night they lift it up, and it has this glow like the sunset is setting over the savannah, and apparently it looks really, really cool, and that'll happen on the safari ride. And then so you just got this huge nighttime kind of thing coming that's really exciting.
Do you think that would make a massive? Because I mean, what do you think about that having a big impact on the Animal Kingdom?
I think it's going to allow people to extend their time there, because a lot of times Animal Kingdom closes at like 6, 7 o'clock. I don't know if you've ever been in it at night. In the winter, when the sun goes down earlier, sometimes there's days where you can stay in the park for about an hour after the sun has gone down, and it's really beautiful. Lanterns are kind of everywhere, and it's just a kind of a different atmosphere to Animal Kingdom. And I think it's going to be really cool to allow everybody to experience that more often.
It kind of always that kind of thing of like, we always went there, and you knew you were leaving about 4 or 5 o'clock, so you might be going to like downtown Disney or to the Boardwalk. That was kind of always the plan. Kind of, well, it was the lighter day, and you knew you had that. That was the kind of the way it worked.
And with Avatar coming, this is good transition into Avatar. A lot of people complain about Animal Kingdom having just mostly shows and not enough rides. And with Avatar coming in next year, that's going to add at least 2 more rides. You're going to have a boat ride with kind of a luminescence at night thing, and then a Banshee ride, which is like a Soarin' kind of a ride, but probably a lot more intense. as you ride a Banshee through this world. And adding more rides plus the nighttime, I think is going to really allow for not just a new atmosphere to Animal Kingdom, but more to do. More to do and more to see, and people are going to get more value from that.
Yeah.
So.
I must admit, I like the Avatar movie. I still feel that kind of thing of like Disney should just brought the brand and just be done with it, so you owned it and you can do what you want with it, rather than kind of weird. Again, it was that kind of pre-Marvel, I think that thing of Avatar when it was massive, and suddenly like now, like all these years later, that brand does not have that same sort of connection that. And I think a lot of people are like, it's not Disney. It's not, you got the same stuff with, it's funny how time has kind of, Avatar's kind of lost that kind of connection because it was a one movie. It wasn't really it's not really a franchise yet because nothing else has happened.
Yeah. So my opinion on that is, I've got a couple opinions on that. My first one is, a lot of people tend to forget that both Indiana Jones and Star Wars have been in the parks for years and years and years as Star Tours and Indiana Jones rides and attractions, and Disney didn't own them for 20 plus years. And so they've had these types of partnerships before, and they've built attractions and lands and kind of areas around these. And so the people who are freaking out about Avatar need to take a step back and realize that this is nothing new for Disney. And who knows, eventually they probably they might buy Avatar, and they might just want to kind of see how it plays out. And then the second thing too is Avatar. Although I agree with you, it's kind of lost its luster, and I think there's kind of a missed opportunity there. There are Avatar number 2 and number 3 are already planned, and I think if those can be good, and I hope that they are, they'll kind of reinvigorate that franchise and maybe kick it off and get it going again. So.
I did actually, because I thought when the movie got pushed back, I think because it's moved away from the Star Wars date now, I actually thought this is a better opportunity for the Pandora area, because now that'll all be up and running when these movies are running instead of it kind of opening up afterwards. It's kind of going to be that big thing. It's a little bit of a risk taker. I mean, it was his biggest franchise, but you have to wonder how much of that was 3D, and it was kind of the first big 3D movie, and are the next ones going to have that impact? But I'm kind of excited about it. And like you said, I remember going on Star Tours and all the 20 plus years ago, and it was just, you didn't really worry about it then. But now, obviously, I think people are more used to Disney owning everything and what they're using, and they don't like playing well with others because they own so much. And all this problem with, I don't know if it's maybe because of the stuff that's gone on with Marvel. There's this kind of thing of like people not liking Disney, not getting on with all these other companies and stuff. And a lot of it, I think, is Marvel related.
Yeah, I a little bit. I agree. I think, and a lot of times people just have short memory. They forget that Disney didn't own Star Wars 5 years ago. So,
and then finally, let's jump into Disney Springs. What's going on over at Disney Springs? There seems to be a lot going there at the minute.
Yeah, so Disney Springs obviously is going through, which is formerly Downtown Disney, is going through a massive, massive expansion. For people in California who have been to Downtown Disney there, to give you a sense of perspective, Disney Springs, when it's done, is going to be like 10 times bigger than Downtown Disney is in California. And I'm talking like restaurants and shops and everything. So I'll kind of give you a overview of what's happening. So you have, what they're working on right now is what's called the town center section of Disney Springs. And it's basically almost, I wouldn't say doubling, but maybe adding 1/3 of the size extra to Disney Springs. It's going to have in there a welcome center. There's going to be a new bus loop, so the guests get dropped off right in the front rather than way down by Once Upon a Toy. There's 2 new huge parking garages. There's a welcome center. And I think what they're trying to go after is the high-end vacationer, the high-end shopper, the people who have money. I think one of the things that Disney realized they made a mistake with previously with Pleasure Island was a lot of kind of adult or 18 and older clubs, and a lot of people, especially teenagers, young adults, came into Pleasure Island to go clubbing and to hang out, but they didn't spend any money. And so Pleasure Island struggled a lot. And so I think Disney has realized, wait a minute, we need to go after the money rather than not necessarily the atmosphere, because we've got the atmospheres. We've got the theme parks. So if you want an atmosphere, go to there. If you want kind of a high-end district, come here.
Yeah. And you kind of want something for the families. I mean, we know, like I said, when we go, going down there, you wander through the shops, you go around, and it's more of that low down feeling of just kind of slowing down a bit. You're not racing around doing attractions and stuff, and the size of it is immense, and all the restaurants. So it's its own location to go to.
I was gonna real quick run through just a list of some of the things that are coming here.
Yeah.
And one thing to add to that too is when they had Pleasure Island and they had all the clubs, Disney also noticed an increase in crime in the area, including car break-ins and some assaults and things like that. And so I think Disney really wanted they shut down Pleasure Island, and Pleasure Island sat empty for a good 7 years before they started work on anything, because they just didn't want to take the risk of having Disney turn into a bad place to go. They want it to be family friendly. So anyway, so here are the things that are kind of changing at Disney Springs. Bibby Bobby Boutique moving into Once Upon a Toy. It was in World of Disney. World of Disney's gotten an expansion, so it's even more massive than it already was. Disney Quest is rumored to be closing in 2017. They don't know what's going to be in there yet. There was rumors that an NBA basketball experience was going to go in there, but now it looks like that may be canceled. Annual passes that you buy for Disney World no longer include Disney Quest in them. So so I think they're letting all those passes kind of expire, and by the time September rolls around, there won't be any more, and then they can start the shutdown of that. And then in terms of restaurants and stores, here's the list that I'm going to run through, so just bear with me here. The restaurants that have already opened, or like food kind of eatery places, there's the Boathouse, Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar, which is Disney owned, and it's Indiana Jones themed. Morimoto's, which is an Asian restaurant. They're doing a refurbishment of Planet Hollywood, Fulton's Crab House, and Paradiso 37. It's getting an expansion. They're bringing in Ganachery chocolate store is already in there. Gelato, a tea place, Dockside Margaritas, 2 Starbucks, and a food truck park this is what's already opened. Okay, so what's coming? There's a new restaurant called STK, which is a high-end steakhouse. There's Walt's, which is a kind of old-timey Walt Disney. What's that?
Yeah, we've got Walt's over in Disneyland Paris in Main Street.
Yep. So they're going to do something similar here called Walt's. They're going to do the Edison, which is like a old-timey Thomas Edison steampunkish kind of restaurant. That's going to where the old Adventurers Club was on Pleasure Island. They've got a BB Wolf Sausage Company, which is quick service. They've got a Deluxe Burger, which is a Disney quick service burger place. Blaze Pizza, Sprinkles Cupcakes, Florida Kitchen Southern Shine, a pastry place, a Mexican full service restaurant, and then there's something called the Neverland Tunnels, which is a rumored underground kind of speakeasy bar that you can supposedly are only going to be able to get into by going into Walt's or the Edison. And from there, you go into the tunnels. And so this is kind of been rumored, but Disney hasn't quite announced it yet.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there. Stores, for stores wise, they've got a really cool new Coca-Cola store that's almost completed. They've got Anthropologie, Lacoste, Kate Spade, Sephora, Under Armour, MAC, Vera Bradley, Lucky Brand, Trophy Room, Alex and Annie, Sure. I mean, there's just I could just go on and list forever here.
It's just becoming a mall, isn't it?
Yeah, basically an outdoor mall, and it's a lot of high-end clothing and shopping and jewelry and stores like that. I think there's like 35 new stores coming in, so it's exciting if you like that kind of thing. I like how Disney Springs has changed it.
It's kind of ironic because it's like for us going out to Florida and stuff, everyone wants to go to the outlets and to the mall and get everything for cheap and bring back goodies that are cheap. I remember when we were kids, you used to come back with your bag just full of Levi jeans because they were like third of the price. That's all we all just went to the Levi outlet, and everyone was just like, if you were going to Florida, everyone, can you get me a pair of Levi's? That was it when we were kids. It was like, you all want to go to the outlets, you want to get all your Disney merchandise and stuff, and It would make more sense, like put the Disney character warehouse from the outlets in there, but it might detract from what they're doing. But
Yeah.
it's kind of funny because they're kind of going the exact opposite route from everything we ever did want to do at the shopping side of things. It's definitely high end.
Yeah, it's high end, and they're going after the money. Like I said, it's supply and demand, and so they're just it's another kind of price increase, right? I mean, it's another way where they're kind of upping the price of things and trying to get higher end and get more money, and they're trying to keep people away from the outlet malls too.
Yeah.
They're trying to create their own mall and keep people on property and say, hey, don't go over there, don't go to Universal, don't go to the outlet malls. We've got this great mall here. It's a little higher end. You have to spend some money, but you get to stay here. You know. So I think there's that, and I think a lot of this higher end stuff too is pressure from shareholders that Disney needs to continue to increase stock price. They need to continue to increase revenue from the parks, and this is the direction that they're taking to do that. So.
And also, I mean, it's like, you know, when I compare it to, I mean, like Disney Village in Paris is tiny, and you know, and I think even like last time when we were at the City Walk, it was in Universal. It was kind of like this weird thing of like they didn't seem to, you know, there wasn't really a lot of shops, just a lot of restaurants that or snack places that didn't really kind of. It was a bit odd, but is how much of those restaurants are connected to the food packages there in Disney. That's going to be the interesting thing, because I think that was always what's kind of, if it's not connected to that may be more interesting.
Yeah. I don't know how that's going to work. We'll see.
But no, I think that's pretty much. I mean, that was pretty much the whole list that we've gone through. That there's a Ample Hills Creamery coming to the Boardwalk as well.
Yeah,
that was the last one.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a big ice cream fan, so I you know, if I was there, I'd go to it. It's kind of this. It's still this kind of odd thing of like, you can see where Disney are kind of bringing in the expertise from other locations to maybe lower the risk and trying to get as much stuff in as possible without spending at least amount of thing of, you know, rather than creating, you know, their own brands and their own restaurants and stuff, you know, bring in one of their own, but also then bring in 3 or 4 of other companies just to pay the rent and get it all building quick as possible.
Yeah, and I think part of it has to do with by Disney having other people take care of it, they don't have to spend their own money on it. And also, they recognize that many adults who take their families on a Disney vacation for 1 or 2 weeks also need their adult time. They need time where they feel like they're going to a high-end steakhouse or Morimoto's restaurant rather than Disney's Princess meet and greet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
and burgers.
And burgers. They want to create this atmosphere where not just are the little girls and boys having a great time, but so are the parents, and the parents want to come back because they feel like it offers something for them as well.
You know, we actually I remember being at City Walk, and literally we sort of said, well, what do we want to eat? And I literally turned them off. So I want a meal on a plate with a metal knife and fork, because there was this kind of thing of like, I've just been eating out of plastic plates and spoons and stuff. Oh, it's like, I just want a normal like, you know, that, like you said, that kind of adult feeling of like, I just want some kind of, not feel like I'm, you know, in a fast food restaurant all the time kind of thing.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. I was just going to add a little bit on that Disney Quest. I think the idea that you're saying about of basically making sure the annual pass doesn't cover it, to maybe lower the amount of people going in there. So when people can't complain about it not being included in your ads when they close it, because, well, you haven't had access to it for a year, and it kind of makes like long-term sense for them the way they've done it.
Yep. That what they did was they took out Disney Quest and they added in PhotoPass. So now annual pass holders, instead of getting Disney Quest, they get unlimited PhotoPass. So they don't have to pay. Annual pass holders don't have to pay for their pictures or anything. They're 100% free. And so that was their way of kind of transitioning the costs and say, wait a minute, we're taking this away, but we're going to give this to you instead.
Yeah. And then they'll remove that later.
Yeah.
And also, I would say, really, in terms of PhotoPass, the cost to them is kind of a bit less, because they're not really they're not making anything. It's just uploading a picture onto a website. So it's, I mean, I know when we went to Disney Quest, the only reason we went is because we had like the 14-day pass and it was included, and we were there at the thing, and it was pouring down with rain. We just had a torrential downpour. We went in, we played, but it's ancient. It's video games. It goes so fast, and I don't think they ever invested enough money in it. It's like, it's all very fine spending it all in 1998, but the technology moves so quick that for what it was, I don't know. It was if they would have been better off just letting people in for free and just putting the meters back on all those arcades. You probably would have made more money on it.
Oh yeah, and it's kind of like I was saying with Hollywood Studios. You're right. It just gets outdated too fast. It's too much for them to keep up with. A lot of people don't know this, but they actually had a Disney Quest in Chicago for a while, and they closed that one down pretty quickly. And then this one kind of is just a relic of the past, and the games are old, and you've got to keep up.
The virtual reality.
Yeah, who goes to arcades anymore? I mean, you've got better games on your consoles at home, so it doesn't make sense.
Sit there in the queue playing on RAM. As well, I think especially like with the virtual. I mean, I remember playing on the Aladdin virtual reality thing, or doing the Jungle Cruise, where you go, this thing is just like it just as date. And I think kids will just be going in there going, what is it? Your phone has got better quality games.
I know.
Just doing
now they have the what's it called, the Google Cardboard or whatever. You just slide your phone in and you have your own virtual reality at home. What do you need to go to Disney Quest for? So, and
it's I think that they did that light little time with Get Ralph to try and give it a little bit of that. In honesty, it's a kind of a location that really could be better use. And I mean, to be honest, they could probably put in a couple of shops on the bottom, a couple of a restaurant or something on the top level, and it worked probably pretty well because there's a massive space in there.
Oh, I mean, you could have your own miniature mall right in that thing. I mean, they could. Yeah, they really could. You're right. We'll have to see. I'm curious to see what they do with that space. I'm
kind of glad they didn't go with the NBA route because as someone that's not an American kind of with that thing of it might be a bit of an sort of experience, but it'd be, I don't know. I always find that those kind of things, it doesn't really, I don't know if that really says to me Disney. It maybe worked over in Universal when they had it there, or I know there was rumors of like a WWE one kind of thing, but these kind of restaurants, they're always a bit hit and miss.
Yeah, I'm not big on the NBA thing, and I enjoy basketball, but I just don't think it fits. I think that it would be better as something that's themed. I don't know. It just doesn't fit, in my opinion, with NBA. Yeah.
Well, I think that pretty much is going to wrap up our list of anything else you want to add on that one onto that list before we sign out for this episode?
All I would say is that my opinion is I'm personally really excited for the future of Disney World. I think there's awesome stuff coming from everything from Avatar and Star Wars and Toy Story and even the smaller things like Soarin', even the Frozen. I mean, I have a daughter, so Frozen, she still likes that stuff. But even the Frozen ride and just little things, Disney Springs, there's just tons of stuff going on right now. And in a couple of years when all this is open, it's going to be fantastic. So I'm excited.
Yeah. I think there's this thing of, I think that whenever there's like work going on, it kind of distracts people. But now like the Magic Kingdom is completely kind of settled down after the whole Fantasyland expansion, which was taking a long time.
In the hub.
Yeah, in the hub. And so all this kind of thing of like people have kind of, the Magic Kingdom's no longer really on anyone's mindset because everything's kind of done there. But everything's been moving over to, Hollywood Studios and Frozen and Avatar. But it's like, there's so much going on, within the next 2-3 years that, I know if I was going 3 years time, there would be a massive amount of new content for me to go and see and do, which is great, which is exactly what we want. But, you just know the minute that digger finishes over here, it's going to be driving across and starting over here and doing something else.
Yeah, Epcot's next.
Like
yeah, Epcot's next on the list.
And then by the time they finish Epcot, they'll probably go back and do something in the It's just, there's always going to be something moving around and updating. But no, definitely an exciting time, I think, for people in Walt Disney World. It's just, I think there's just been a lot of like little niggly stuff over the last couple of months of lots of like you say, the penny pinching and the adding up. I think that's been a kind of general feeling at the minute. It's just, lots of work going on and lots of price rises, but people not feeling like they're getting a huge amount for it.
Yeah, I agree. I think like we talked about, let's wait till Shanghai opens. Let's wait for things to calm down in a year. And I think a year from now, it'll be 2017. People are looking forward to Avatar opening, and Avatar is the first big, huge new land, even new Fantasyland. It was an expansion. It wasn't 100% new. The Mermaid ride had already been in California, and they just moved Dumbo to the back. But Avatar is actually 100% new land, and I think that once that opens up, I mean, then and at that time, Star Wars and Toy Story will be building up. So it's exciting.
Should be good.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. Be sure to comment with your thoughts on what's going on in Walt Disney World or anything in here. And a big thank you again to Ethan for joining me on this show and also for being a patron as well. Really helps support the site, paying for bits and pieces, keeping us upgrading and stuff like our new shiny little mics. So this all kind of makes a big difference. But also, as I say, as per usual, check us out at DisKingdom.com. Hit that subscribe button, and we shall see you guys in a later episode. And also remember to check out magicbrandcollector.com and sortedapps.com as well for Ethan. Cheers, guys.
Thanks.